Welcome to The Heat Source, the podcast where we learn everything we can about hot sauce, one bottle at a time. We are your hosts, Mike and Matt, and today we're trying Piña Dañada by Sam Sauce. Let's heat up. Welcome back to The Heat Source.
Happy Tuesday.
Yeah, happy National Garlic Day.
Is that really?
Yes. I almost forgot about it until just when we started. I'm like, wait a minute. Today's an important day.
So I trust your decisions and your holidays.
Yeah.
Little surprised we're not doing a garlic sauce on National Garlic Day, but we didn't plan it this way.
So, interesting fact, we are trying a new sauce. This is going to be a little bit off format because this sauce maker is a little unique. He doesn't have a name that you would normally do if you're starting a business because people find it hard to pronounce. As a starter to this, and I promised him I would do this when I talked to him today, the owner of this sauce is Sam Hastings, but I want you to go ahead and, I think I've already pronounced it in front of you. Let's see you pronounce the name of the sauce company.
I think I've heard you say, and we didn't talk about this at all. We barely talk before we do this podcast. I was hoping you weren't going to ask me to say it out loud.
Yes. Oh, I was, it's part of the brand though.
Yeah.
So I had to.
So I've heard you say, I think it's Sam's sauce, Sam's house, or close to.
The second one was closer.
Sam's house.
So when you look at the writing, it looks like Samsa house. But the way that he recommends it pronounced, and the way that if you listen to him in any iteration of social media or recording, it's Sam Sauce. I can't even do the gravel thing. Sam Sauce.
Sam Sauce.
Sam Sauce. He puts
sense.
a little more gravel to it. We're still dealing with some seasonal
funk.
I got a dry throw. I'm still doing the lemon and honey. But it is something where you're going to see a couple different things on here where he goes the opposite way of what people are telling you should do when starting a business, or not necessarily just a hot sauce company, but starting a business.
Yeah.
And that was one of them was you made a name of a hot sauce that people don't know how to properly pronounce.
But that makes it like a talking point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the store when you're driving down the road that has the upside down sign, and people go in saying, "Hey, your sign's upside down." And they're like, "Well, you're in my store now."
Yeah.
So like there's a show I love watching, Community, where the main character would make fun of this one older guy in the community college in a fun way, not in a bullying way. Mm-hmm. And he at one point was like, there's always this tagline where he says, "Shut up, Leonard," and then says some type of tagline. He's like, "Shut up, Leonard." He's like, "I saw your frozen pizza review on YouTube. It's not that great." And he's like, "Well, you're talking about it." And he's like, "That's true." Like, you got me.
Yeah.
So Sam Sauce. If I can get more gravelly with it, I will. When we try other sauces of his, maybe my voice will be clear. And then the other part of this, the type of sauce, we're going a little, I don't know if you took any Spanish in high school.
So it's a spin-off from Piña Colada.
Similar.
Yeah. But
I mean, it is.
Piña Dañada.
Piña Dañada. So an NY kind of in the middle. Which stands for, the literal term is damaged pineapple, but charred pineapple.
Okay.
So, and you're going to see in this sauce company and with the owner, Sam Hastings, you're going to see a lot of high level cooking that we didn't see with some of the other ones, not because they weren't doing great things with their sauce, but this is the first sauce maker that we're trying that is an actual professional chef.
Okay.
A skilled been in the culinary game for 18 years.
Okay.
Similar to a couple other sauces that we've tried, got into it in 2020 of March. I don't know what happened in 2020 of March.
Yeah, it's a starting point for everything.
Yeah, it's just nothing happened before that.
This is like, so if you look back, and maybe it's because this is, I guess maybe a sentimental date to me, but 1919 was the year my dad's dad was born. So my grandpa on my dad's side. Like A&W root beer, Frank's Red Hot.
Okay.
Maybe. But there's a lot of things.
That sounds familiar. That sounds right.
A lot of things that started in 1919 for some reason. Like if you look at a lot of historical things.
Right.
Food mostly. 1919. I feel like the next thing
is 2020.
Is 2020.
I mean, it makes sense. It's something that, the joke when 2020's, when we're in the middle of 2020 was, everyone's making bread. Everyone's, doing some of the other at home, everyone's gardening more or whatnot. This whole path of us learning about hot sauce and finding out, hey, you just happen to start 2 years after a boom of a sauce industry that was already kind of booming. From whatever thing I read, like 5 years ago, I read articles of, hey, it's going to double in the next 10, and then 2020 hit, and then...
It was just like the tipping point for everyone, like, well, might as well do that.
Exactly. So the one that we're trying, like we said, the Piña Dañada, it is the 2022 Scovie Award winner for hot sauce, mild medium in the fruity category. Because this one, like we said, the translation is pineapple. The description here is a charred pineapple and ginger with toasted spices. It even says damaged pineapple, which, if you can tell from the graphics on the bottle, we have the sticker and the business card when we ordered everything. Damaged pineapple, he's a very metal oriented guy, big metalhead. He's got the long, like the cartoon on the bottle, that's him with the beard. He's got the bandana usually when you see him on social media and on his different videos, whether it be live videos or whatnot. So that's the sauce that we're going to be trying today. We have a couple new things. This is our first episode that's coming out on a Wednesday because we decided to do the move for two reasons, I think, unless you can think of another one. One of them was editing on the weekend with a crunch time with due date for Monday is not great for my mental health in editing and then getting right into the Monday work week. But also, it's something where Wednesday seemed like a better day to release episodes. It's just everything that we found out is like, hey, Mondays aren't great. Yeah. Wednesdays are a better day.
More engaging.
Mm-hmm. And I've seen a couple other podcasts that do a little like, hey, we're shuffling it around. Let's see what you think situation. So this is an episode. This is our first, well, it's not our first episode. It's our first Wednesday episode that we'll be releasing. And we're going to try to do that weekly still, but every Wednesday release. The other thing that's different, which you won't be able to tell, is we have new spoons.
Yeah.
I ordered...
Pleasantly surprised. Did not know these were coming today.
Yeah, I ordered some more sauce, and one of the sauce companies, Mammoth Sauce Co., they have mother of pearl tasting spoons that they sell, and they have a tasting kit with a book and all that. And I ordered sauce for them. I ordered a couple sauces, and they included spoons, which now we've stepped up from baby spoons to regular metal spoons to mother of pearl. So I don't know where to go from there.
Yeah.
I think that's the cap.
Right.
So we also have some things in the work on trying to figure out about doing some mini episodes to try more sauce. That's still working on the logistics of, we got to record enough episodes for somebody to go on their honeymoon. So that alone is a hurdle. So the mini episodes might be after that.
Yeah. What is that in a month? We'll have covered 3 countries, Canada, Mexico, and Italy.
Yep. So I'll be in Canada in the middle to late summer. You'll be in Italy in a couple of weeks here. And then I'll be in Mexico in like 2 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a couple months, but 3 countries.
Interesting, though, with this sauce, I'm going out to Iowa, not as far south, but the sauce maker, he lives in Austin, Minnesota.
Okay.
Are you familiar with Austin, Minnesota at all?
I'm not. Cool. I'm assuming that's southern Minnesota?
I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't look at the geography of it. But Austin, Minnesota is known, other than for Sam's house, it is known for one other major thing. If you want to take a guess, it would be impressive if you did.
Do I get one categorical hint?
It's food related. I feel like that's as best I can do. If I go further, it will. Yeah. I have another hint that I could see it giving it away.
Fried walleye.
No, but that sounds delicious. Do you want my giveaway hint or you just want it?
Giveaway hint.
People think it's actually Hawaiian.
Pineapples.
No.
Gosh, I'm embarrassed.
It's okay. I would be floored if you got this. Austin, Minnesota is where they make Spam.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Huh. It is the home of Spam. It is also the home of the Spam Museum, which they call the people that work at the Spam Museum Spambassadors.
That's great.
Which I love as a dad and a pun lover. But it is something where everyone assumes Spam is Hawaiian because it's very popular in their culinary wheelhouse. But they adopted it because during World War II, Spam was in a lot of the luncheons that the GIs were eating over there. And then it just became
just caught on.
Yeah, and they do creative things with it, but
yeah, it's funny. I'm going to hit you with another very similar fact later. Cool. Yeah, that's interesting. I would have never guessed.
No, it's it was just one where he had mentioned it, and I'm just like, I'm not going to go completely down the rabbit hole of everything about Spam, but it was just interesting where I'm like, Austin, Minnesota, I'm not familiar with, and then I know Spam.
Yeah.
And I don't think if you ask 100 people, I don't know what percentage would actually know that it's not made in like Hawaii. I did not go down a rabbit hole of there's also a place over there called the Hormel Institute. I did not go down that path, but I was like, I have an idea and I don't want to look it up because I don't want it to be wrong. I would love it to be Hormel Chili Institute.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming it's not.
Was it you? I just learned what Spam was this weekend.
Like what's made in it?
Yeah.
When I looked up the Spam stuff, they did talk about how they are actually pretty transparent with what's in it. It's just a lot of,
and I'm blanking on what it was. It was like ham.
There's ham. There's pork. There's some other type of pork.
Yeah,
and there's
like
a lot of like
different cuts of pork,
and chemicals, and
yeah.
I don't know. They are very transparent on it. The only thing they're not transparent on is what the Spam 4 letters stand for. Mm-hmm. They said only a few executives have known that and no one shares it.
Really?
Because they try to think of it as like spare pork and ham, but it was like the AM was like the last part of ham, and it's like, no, that's not what it is. Huh. So that was the only other thing that I was curious on is why it's called Spam.
I've never had Spam.
I think I've had it once. No. I think I had it once out of curiosity and I did it wrong because you're supposed to like slice it and fry it.
Yeah. And
I just took the gelatinous seal. When you open the can, there's a layer.
It just dug right in.
It made me think of the Matrix, the first Matrix, when Neo comes out and he's just covered in the pod.
Yeah.
And covered in goo. And I'm like, let's take that off. And then I just and it was like, okay, this is gross.
Yeah.
It was meat. It was salted meat. But frying it makes a whole lot more sense. Similar to like fried bologna or fried ham that you mentioned was it last week that you got?
Yeah, I bought 50 pounds of not even spiral ham, just shanked hickory smoked hams. Yeah. There was a sale, and I took advantage of it.
Was it like 79 cents a pound?
79 cents a pound, and I got 50 pounds of ham.
So did you freeze a lot of that?
I did, yep.
Okay, I was going to say, I'm like...
My wife and I knocked out, we were just doing sliced ham fried with Duke's mayonnaise on Hawaiian rolls, but you fry the Hawaiian rolls face down in the grease.
Yep.
That's all we were doing for like breakfast and dinner for probably a week, and we ate almost a 10-pound ham to ourselves, so now I'm down to like 40 pounds of ham. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we killed that.
I mean, that's a pretty good chunk. We avoided ham for Easter this year. We decided to go different. I did a roast, like a beef roast. Mm-hmm. That actually was pretty darn good, but I'm not a big ham person.
My wife wasn't either.
I get hammed out easily.
She was actually hesitant on me buying one. She's like, I don't know what we're going to do with 10 pounds of ham. I don't really eat it. And I was like, it looks nice and good and fatty. Just let me buy it. We'll try it. If not, I'll eat the whole thing. And I won't corner you into eating anything.
Right.
I fried that up and I threw it on a sandwich for her, and she took like one bite and kind of looked around. And she's like, you need to buy more of those. I'm like, how many? She's like, 4. Okay, sounds good.
Give me all the ham shanks you have.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, I don't think we have a whole lot of, even though it's been a little bit since we recorded, it's been like 10 days since our last episode.
Feels like a lot longer than that.
Mm-hmm. It's been a while there. Not a whole lot of, there's been a lot of stuff going on, but I don't feel like any of it's fun. a lot of work and holiday arrangements and all that. So usually we have more to talk about in the upfront, but yeah, let's open up the seal on this and get started. We'll start tasting it here first, and then we'll talk a little bit about the company some more and the sauce. And again, just as we always review when we talk about the heat level, it's a 0 to 5 scale. 0 is no heat. 1 is minimal. 2 is kind of that, I put it as like that medium. 3 is when you're starting to really react. 4 is good pain. 5 is bad pain. We haven't really gotten too high up on the scale, especially you. Your tolerance is much more.
I think like a mid 2 is probably what hottest we've had so far.
And this is another sauce that doesn't straight up just list like what the heat is, which is nice because it is a subjective thing. It's based on your preference. And then when we go through and we give it a rating, just because, I always feel like I have to reiterate the scoring. It's on a 100-point scale. Anything above 50, we recommend to buy. above 75 is something we want to have stocked in our kitchen year round. 50 to 75 is we recommend to buy it. We're going to have that sauce often in our kitchen, but it's not maybe not a staple. 50 to 25 is where a lot of those generic grocery store ones go. They're like the ones we love, but like I'm not going to go tell you like, oh, you got to try Frank's. Like, but it's in that category. And then under 25 is not for us, but maybe it's for you.
I might tell you to go try Frank's just because I feel like that's un-American to have not tried Frank's.
Oh, yeah. If someone has not tried Frank's, then I'm wondering unless they started immediately in the elite level of, well, I only do gourmet, then it's like, okay, well, then it might be a disappointment when you do try Frank's if you've had gourmet sauces, fermented sauces and things like that. But yeah, that would be weird if someone's like, oh, I love hot sauce. But like, oh, so what do you think of Frank's? Who?
Yeah.
Who's
is he a reviewer?
What does he make?
With him.
Yeah. What does he make? That's interesting. So that's just the scale that we use, but it is just for us to help quantify where we put these sauces in our personal ranking. It is not something we're amateur triers, so we're not going to tell you that is the be all end all. I think we've had a difference of somewhere between 5 to 10 points here and there on our scales.
Yeah, maybe even a little more.
The big thing we always go through that 100-point scale is just because when you hear a 100-point scale, you default into school where anything below 60 is a failure, which is a dumb way to grade when you have 100 points to use and you're only using 40.
Yeah, you got a lot of unused space there.
It is something. This is, I think, unless I missed one between now and our second episode, I think this is the second Scovie Award winner we've tried. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
It's something, and that's again why I like to mention we're amateurs, because if we give a score something lower than another sauce that we tried, we're not saying that, I don't know. It's just one of those where the Scovie Awards.
We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
The Scovie Awards are going to call us and say, oh, you think you're better than us? You think you know better than us? Get Joe Pesci on the line, Robert De Niro. Yeah. Like how? But all right, let's open this up. Let's see. Open up the seal.
It's a short one.
A little bit. It is a short little.
It's our first 4-ounce bottle, by the way, which is kind of concerning because a 5-ounce bottle has been lasting me a few days, if a day.
These, I believe, are called the Woozy bottles. I think that's what these ones are called. But it's a 4-ounce bottle. I love the label. I love the artwork.
Yeah.
I know that he has talked on different interviews about wanting to maintain the same artist for all of his different flavors that he does, because we have 4 flavors here. We're only trying the Piña Dañada, but there is Taiga style, which actually was his first. That was the first sauce that he came out with when he started back in 2020. That's also one that I think he had recommended as like a wing sauce. That's probably the most common one that's used for a wing sauce. Mm-hmm. Also, I'm a little disappointed that I didn't pick this one for today. Funky garlic on National Garlic Day.
Yeah.
And then a Trapanero, which also sounds very interesting. The description of the flavor sounds really good. The color is different. It's not the traditional red or green color you expect.
Kind of reminds me of applesauce.
Yes.
Very much so looks like applesauce. Still looks good.
But this one, just for a little recap on the ingredients here, we have pineapple, and again, it's literally translated to charred or damaged pineapple, onion, ginger, yellow brain strain chilies, champagne vinegar, distilled vinegar, garlic, cilantro, preserved lemons, salt, coriander, cumin, and then he's got citric acid and xanthan gum in this one. So there is a couple things about the ingredients we'll talk about here I find interesting, and part of the having a professional chef. I'm curious how much these little mother of pearl spoons hold. The smell is a really good smell.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm getting a lot of citrus.
I'm getting like the pineapple, and I'm getting that champagne vinegar. It's a different vinegar.
Yeah. It smells.
With that garlic.
It smells like a fruity
garlic.
drink.
I don't do enough fruity drinks. The only fruity drink I do, because it's a funny joke and it's a visually funny thing to see me drink at Pepino's, is the Bomb Pop Martini. It has 3 levels. That's the only fruity drink I ever get.
I'm a fruity drink guy.
I mean, there's no shame in that. They're delicious.
That's interesting.
I think you're about to lose a drop on your spoon there.
I am, already did.
All right, let's give this a try. But yeah, it smells great.
Whoa.
The thing I've been really happy with, we've had some drastically different types of flavors that I was not expecting when we started doing hot sauce tastes. Because you think, when we think of like, oh, we have Frank's and we had Louisiana, those are our staples. When we, Crystals, they're all kind of in the same wheelhouse of pepper, vinegar, salt.
Yeah.
Little variations. That is a diverse flavor.
It's a lot going on. It's
the lemon, I think, is part of that citrus that we're getting.
You get a lot of citrus.
So one of the things that we'll talk about here, just because we're trying to decipher what flavors we're getting in this. I only have 2 pages of facts, by the way, today, which I'm hoping will help for a more concise, a tight hour and 10 minutes. But one of the things with him being a professional chef, he has talked about on different interviews, and I've listened to, he has a podcast, Spill the Sauce. They do a podcast where they interview different sauce makers and different people in, adjacent fields. They do a coffee talk, him and Roddy from Fire Co. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of his social media engagement. And I also listened to a recent podcast I listened to a podcast interview also where he talks about, he likes to do chef-inspired hot sauces. So like in this one, he wanted to add some lemon to that flavor, but he didn't do just lemon. He did salt-cured lemons to give a different dynamic, a different depth to that flavor. I get that. Mm-hmm. I'm not familiar with salt-cured lemon, but it's definitely different than just someone put lemon in the sauce.
It's unique. I don't know how to describe it because I really haven't had much like that.
And that's the exciting thing with someone that's a professional chef. I put a note about how he likes adding depth of flavor that go against the generic norms. And that's where we're getting where this is different than what I've had before.
Yeah.
And I like it. I just can't place it to a similar, familiar thing that I've had.
Right.
And he talked about, I know that his first sauce was the Taiga style. He talked about his first restaurant gig was a Thai restaurant. So like there's those Thai influences. And when you get into those flavors outside of, we joke about our white guy recipe ideas of, oh, you got to do this with Duke's mayo and Hawaiian roll and ham. Like, it's like, oh yeah, that sounds good. But when you get into those other cultures, it's things that we're less familiar with. I've talked on episode 1, I think I mentioned, I want to get into trying the gochujang Korean, was it fermented bean paste, I think it is?
Yeah.
I'm curious what that, I know it's spicy, but I'm curious what that tastes like. So getting into those different flavors and talking about unique flavor with the element of heat, for me, this isn't a very hot sauce, which I was kind of surprised by. I know some of his get pretty hot.
Yeah. But like it works though. I really like it.
Yeah.
I want to keep eating it or drinking it actually out of my spoon, but
I still am impressed with, there's a few people, but I always go back to the Fox Solo Spice who reached out to us, and he's on TikTok and Instagram and stuff, where he'll try a sauce and he's like, he was trying one from High Desert Heat Company, and he was literally like trying spoonful, and he just finally just chugged the bottle.
Yeah. I want to do that with this one.
It's a good heat. It's a good burn. It's one that I had some people over for Easter, and I had some other previous sauces we tried, that concerto from Hot Graham, the honey mango habanero from Stanky Sauce. And they're like, can I tolerate it? I'm like, well, try a little bit. Cause like, if you can, you really should.
Yeah.
This is one that there's still going to be the people that are like, oh, I don't like spice. And they get that burn in the back of their throat and they don't like it, but it's worth a little bit of heat. And
so I can tell, I feel like he approaches from like a chef scientific standpoint. Like it just works. It hits different than a regular hot sauce in your mouth. Like the feeling, the sensation you get from the flavor is different than just like, here's combined ingredients. Like I feel like he cooked down to a certain point, very meticulous with his ingredients.
And that's the other thing.
To pull out very specific flavors.
When I talked to him recently, he talked about he does not use a co-packer. So this is all him.
Yeah.
It is growing all of his own stuff. So this is all his own grown product. He bottles everything by hand. He markets solo. He's a one-man operation. He's literally using a hand pump siphon to fill the bottles. So you're getting not oh yeah, it's pretty close to what the original recipe was wherever.
Yeah.
It is the authentic recipe from the chef, which I think I don't know if it's still the case, but I know he had mentioned that he works a kitchen. I don't know what kitchen, but he does use that kitchen for his cooking. So he has the commercial kitchen at the restaurant that he uses. At a certain point, he was only doing, I think, weekends or limited time making the sauce and then doing his other job. So It's one that I've seen with a lot of sauce makers, and even like when we talked about Scott from Lucky Dog, that ramp up that is trying to make it and creating this product and marketing and all that. Mm-hmm. It's a full-time job that you're doing while having a full-time job.
Right.
Which we can barely do a once a week recording on schedule because of our different dynamics of, luckily, no critics up above us where my kids aren't upstairs crying. So that's a good change of pace from last week's. Although some people did like the input from my daughter. She wasn't too happy, but it was still pretty interesting. But
so I've knocked out a quarter of this bottle already.
This is one of those bottles where we have never done it on an episode. It's a good candidate for not making it outside of the recording.
Yeah. And once you're done, I wonder what this tastes like on chips.
Yeah, it works. It works well that we have smaller tasting spoons today than the full spoons.
If we had a full spoon, I would have this thing almost gone.
Yeah. That's one that I think that, yeah.
I'm just I don't want to say I'm just now getting the ginger, but after a lot of this bottle, I'm really getting the ginger sensation, that little bit of a vinegary, mellow, gingery bite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I really like that. I had sushi last night, and I could picture myself dipping my sushi in this.
Oh, yeah. I can see that.
Yeah.
I would want to put this on just to go char for char, like a shish kebab kind of thing. Not doing grilled pineapple, shrimp, but doing other things, and then be like, did you grill pineapple on this skewer? No, it's in that sauce, in that additional flavor. So just some extra things about Sam. He talks about how he would growing up, he used to do the same thing a couple of the other hot sauce makers we've heard, where it used to be find the hot peppers, bring them to school, have your buddies try them. I think his dad even had a garden that he would grow peppers in. Back when he was doing that, he used to use the hottest pepper at the time, which was back in the late 90s. Do you know what the hottest pepper in the late 90s was?
I'm going to go with the habanero.
No, the red Savina pepper.
Really?
Was the hottest pepper from the Guinness hottest pepper from 94 to 2006.
So what's the Scoville on that?
Scoville, they say, was somewhere between it ranges depending on what you read, but between 300 and 550,000 Scoville units. It was displaced by the Boot Jolokia chili pepper, also known as the ghost pepper.
Okay.
Which I think I pronounced that poorly. I watched one YouTube video of how to pronounce it. I've watched one YouTube video, and I was like, how do you pronounce this? And then there was a guy, and then I was like, oh, okay. And then I thought about it after the fact and said, that was another super white guy just pronouncing it that probably was like, this is the Boot Jolokia. And I'm like, he said it too, so I'm good with it.
Right.
Today's a big episode about pronunciation.
Yeah.
There's a Google history of me just typing words and going pronunciation after it.
Yeah. So it's funny, I think back to my first experience with a habanero pepper. Mm-hmm. My uncle grew some habaneros, and I remember him telling my dad my parents were treating him like cyanide. They put him in a Ziploc bag, and they wouldn't let me and my brothers touch them. My dad's like, I don't know what we're going to do with these. Craig said these are one of the world's hottest peppers. And at the time, I mean, what's a habanero, 250,000
something like that.
Somewhere in there?
Yeah.
That was my first experience. So it's you look at a habanero now, it's it's hot, but it's on the bottom third of heat now.
And I've seen some interviews with different sauce makers where they get asked the question. I think it was even on the Talking Heat podcast, where they talk about, what's something maybe an underutilized or overrated pepper. And habanero gets talked about how people sleep on how good a habanero is because it's seen now as not the hottest thing out there. So you're like, habanero sauce. But there's a reason it was used so much. The flavor, they're
very fruity.
The fruitiness of them. Different peppers that have that fruitiness or floral element. I mean, that's what makes the good sauce. You get the hottest pepper, but I think people talk about how, I don't know if it's the ghost pepper that has that bitterness or if maybe it's the Carolina Reaper, but they talk about the challenges of using a pepper for the heat.
Yeah.
That comes with that extra challenge of flavor.
Right. And I like that. I don't know if you're going to touch on it, but I like that he didn't go with a habanero for a fruity or hot sauce. I feel that's very cliche. And that's not to say that it's not good.
I'm seeing if he used habanero in the other ones.
I mean, this one, I would hope so. This is called Tropanero.
Yeah. Yeah, this habanero is another one. But it's you're not seeing someone that's going one pepper across the board. Even we're looking at advertising for Stanky sauce where they're coming out with new sauces that are getting away from habanero because they have two really good habanero sauces. Mm. But instead of going, now we'll do honey mango pineapple, honey mango. Yeah, I say blueberry because my son is crazy about a blueberry cake for his birthday next month. But they don't say, we got to keep that habanero. They are trying other peppers. Right. That's great. And yeah, he talked about that he's been growing peppers since high school, specifically dehydrating them and sprinkling them on different items. And different interviews, he did talk about how the Sam Souse, it was something that I think he said a friend of him used to always use that like as his nickname or something. And he kind of likes the challenge of people mispronouncing it. Right. It's a different level of flavor than what we're used to because of the skill. And he talked about how he likes to experiment with fermentation and chars and smokiness. There was a sauce that was very popular, and I believe there was a hot sauce bracket on the Talking Heat podcast last year that he won, and I think he won with Smokey J, which was smoking the whole produce in like a hardwood cherry wood, like everything, the pepper, the garlic, the onions, the peppers, the whole thing, and having a super smoky sauce. I need to get a spoonful before you drink it all.
I know. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I like the char too. It's like, you notice it, but it's not like, you're not getting any sort of burnt. It's a perfect char. That's real good.
Yeah, because sometimes you get those like smoky or those elements where they're trying to get that char or the smoke. And you get, whether they use like liquid smoke or some generic thing where you're like, oh, they really kind of overdid it. Mm-hmm. Not the case with this. But yeah, I know that he did say that he's just starting back out into the farmer's market season in Minnesota, similar to us here in Michigan. Farmers markets don't really do as hot in the winter. Yeah. So that is one of the challenges I know he's mentioned in different interviews about in Minnesota, the seasons affect the market season. He was at the Fiery Food Show in Albuquerque. I was following him and some other guys there. But yeah, he was the 2021 March Madness bracket winner for, at the time it was just called Fat Guy Certified and Hot Sauce Guy doing a bracket, but now they're the Talking Heat podcast. But yeah, he does love focusing on those fresh ingredients, which you can tell in the flavor, making everything in-house. As far as like the appearance on it, we didn't really hit on the appearance. It's a greener sauce.
Just like, it's like a very nice,
like a verde
salsa.
Yeah.
Or not salsa, but just.
The consistency is like perfect. It's not too runny. It's not chunky. It's a smooth pour. We didn't have it stuck in the bottle like a few episodes before.
No, I can feel like little bits of ginger. Mm-hmm. Like ginger's kind of fibrous.
And ginger is a tough one for me. I like ginger. I've had some things that are ginger's a powerful ingredient to use. So it is something where I've been gingered out. I actually was just talking about ginger ale the other day, and it's like I actually like ginger ale that doesn't taste as much like ginger.
So like Canada Dry.
Yeah, Canada
Dry. Sprite with a spritzing of ginger.
It's carbonated. It's heavily carbonated Sprite with a ginger passing by.
Yeah,
like
ginger in the room next to you.
I don't like soda for flavor. I like soda for carbonation, and that's part of why I have stopped drinking soda. Because
I love Vernors. Vernors is where it's at. That's like, it's funny. My grandma grew up.
As a Michigander,
yeah,
you're right.
That's like medicine in Michigan. Like if you were sick as a kid,
I hate it.
Your grandma gave you Vernors before she gave you like Dimetap or something.
We're a Canada Dry family. It's kind of like the licorice versus Red Vine.
Yeah.
It's like we were a Canada Dry family over Vernors. Still love Faygo.
Yeah.
Faygo.
If I'm going tonic water, which I like to drink straight tonic water too, I'm going Canada Dry.
You do?
I can't do club soda.
I feel like every episode we're coming out with new things that are really testing
our
friendship and how this podcast is going to go. Where it's like, yeah, that pineapple eating pizza son of a whatever. Yeah. And then it's like, well, yeah, he says that about me, but drinking Canada Dry tonic water.
Tonic water lover.
Have you had Canada Dry did a ginger ale lemonade?
Yes.
It's really good.
So growing up at parties, my mom would always do a punch bowl with like 2 liters of Vernors, and then she would take 2 of like the frozen Minute Maid lemonade logs, and she'd throw them in there. And she did that when we were kids. I mean, that was like an old thing to do for her. So yeah, when that came out, I was like, oh, I've had this stuff all my life. It's really good. I love it. If you haven't tried it, Werner's and lemonade is really good.
What are you doing for heat on this?
I'm going with 1.
I was going to go 1 too.
Yeah.
And
like that'd be comfortable for someone who's afraid of heat.
It does change a little bit. Like I've had it go the opposite where you have it and you're like, wow, this is really hot. And then I start putting in ingredients and I'm like, okay, well, those ingredients mellow it out. I've had it go the other way, oddly, where sometimes it heats it up. But I mean, that's when people ask me like, oh, how spicy is it? I'm like, well, I eat it by the spoonful. So I don't know if my gauge is the same as if you put it on a sandwich.
Like if you had someone that was afraid of heat and you gave this to them, I feel like it would be hotter for them.
Yeah.
But manageable.
They would be like, ooh, like this is hotter than I expected, but they're not going to. I think back to, I got the fish sandwich from Popeyes, which they have a spicy and they have a non-spicy. I got the spicy one. I ordered a non-spicy from my mom who does not handle heat. Well, they messed up the order in the wrong way. They did 2 spices instead of, if they did 2 regulars, I'll deal with it. I have sauces. I can make it work. But instead they did 2 spicy, and I tried to scrape all that spicy mayo paste, whatever. It didn't look great. I haven't gone to Popeyes since. Not as a hard stance, just as like, I kind of was unappealing.
Yeah.
But it was something where that one was too hot for her, where she's like, it's just too much, because it was just not necessarily that it was like this insane heat. It was just a massive amount.
Right.
Of like a spicy mayo. I have to do addition now.
I like my score. I think it's going to surprise you.
I feel like we still are learning where we're at individually on these, where I don't know if it's like, oh, it's going to be higher than you expect, or it's me going,
I don't want to sound, I probably don't taste it at all. Like I wouldn't have picked up on it if I didn't read the ingredients. But the champagne vinegar,
yeah,
I want to say I notice it.
I thought I smelled it when that first smell. We've had a couple sauces where you smell that vinegar.
Yeah.
Those first sauces, which are just straight up plain vinegar from Frank's or Louisiana, it's like you get that regular vinegar. Mm-hmm. It's in the room. You know about it.
Yeah. It's
like a town crier ringing the bell. I always think of town crier as Homer Simpson town crier, because that's the episode that I remember. But it is something where that's distinct, where that one is like, okay, I smell the vinegar, but it's not that normal. And I don't use champagne vinegar. I think I have some.
I think I have some for cooking for recipes, but like
I have like six vinegars in my pantry.
I'm getting like, like the tail end of like a vinegar pucker, where it's like you can tell you had vinegar 5 minutes ago.
Sure.
You get like that sensation in your mouth.
Yeah.
Like this is like a very faint vinegar, which I like. I love a vinegar-based sauce. I don't know if this would qualify as a vinegar base, but being that there's 2 types of vinegar in it, like I really like that.
Yeah,
that feeling. I might go home and get sushi, and then dump just like a naked tuna roll.
Yeah,
and just dip it in this.
You're saying you want to take that one home?
Maybe
you can. You can do that. I'll be going out of town next weekend, so whatever sauce we try next.
Going to make it home. I don't think it's going to leave the table.
So it is. We're at the halfway point. That's the most I think we've ever.
Yeah, he's got to put a wider mouth on that so he can just drink it.
I think he needs to make it a more narrow mouth so it'll last longer is the problem.
No.
What does it say on the side here, the description? So this saucy journey began when I was just a long-haired metalhead in high school growing hot peppers in my backyard, which we talked about.
Yep.
After culinary school, I started my grind as a professional chef. Only when I merged my 2 passions of gastronomy and hot peppers was Sam Souse born. Oh, so it's just the generic description.
And as a metalhead, I can only imagine how he says Sam Souse.
Oh yeah, it's great. I'll have to play it for you. I've got a recording here. I wonder if I can.
Now, did he say like at all in your researchings if like what sort of metal bands he listens to?
He has mentioned on different interviews that he's done. It is something where I realize that he's a real metalhead when I don't know. It's not like a generic. Oh yeah, like I know. I don't know metal bands hardly at all. So if I knew it, it's like, oh, okay. Like
Metallica.
Yeah. That's the one, like Judas Priest.
Yeah.
That's metal. I also don't know how to categorize music anymore, because there's so many like fusion.
Yeah.
Remember when Taylor Swift was country? That's a terrible thing to bring up in a metal conversation. Yeah. Last episode was Backstreet Boys. This week is Taylor Swift. First episode, I think, was Michael Bublé. We've really hit the real tough guy music scenes.
That's hilarious. Yeah, he loves metal. So Taylor Swift, yeah.
What do we think? She had a Crossroads recording with somebody. I don't think it was metal, but I think it was definitely rock and roll, where they listened to it on one of the radio shows locally. And it was when she was younger, so I don't know how much her voice has developed or changed as far as getting more dynamic. Yeah. But it was very much like a kid trying to sing a rock and roll, a pretty good rock and roll song. And they're like, she doesn't have the power to keep up. But I don't know who it was that she sang it with.
There's this, I don't know what you would call it, but there's like a series of CDs that do, I think it's called Pop Goes Punk.
Okay.
And I feel like she always makes the cut of a punk band remaking one of her songs.
Def Leppard and Taylor Swift.
I didn't hear that one.
It's from
The 9 Greatest Arms in Rock and Roll.
2008.
Really?
So it was a while ago. I mean, that tells you how long ago it was. Again, it was on CMT. Okay. So it was a country crossroads.
Is that still a channel? I don't have cable anymore.
No one knows. We have to find someone that has cable. Actually, I do have a cable box right now for live sports, but I don't use it.
I don't even have live appropriately. Sports. I usually text you on Monday and say like, who won?
We're a big Detroit Tigers, and then I'm a big Detroit Pistons fan. So
yeah,
we keep up. I haven't watched as much of the Pistons though, but Angela's a big baseball fan. Her whole family is pretty big into the Tigers. It's always on at their house, which is nice.
Right.
There's never an issue of like, oh, I'm not going to see who won the game. It's like, oh, it'll be on in the background. Like, really? At the bar mitzvah?
It's like more.
I don't know why I went
the foreground.
I don't know why I went Jewish with that. Her family's Italian and Catholic. That doesn't. Yeah, this sauce is not doing well. Not doing well as far as holding up to last beyond this episode.
No,
this might have a new order going on. You might have to order it on the next round.
I might.
So
what was? Hold on, let me hit you. I had a couple real interesting pineapple facts.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what you were going to go with on this because we didn't really talk. We don't talk a whole lot before the episode about the whole layout of what we're doing.
Yeah.
So I always am worried because we had the last episode, we had some overlap. So I was kind of worried. So I didn't really go with the obvious of, well, this one has pineapple. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really go because we have talked about pineapple on some of the other sauces that incorporated it.
Yeah. This one's way too nerdy for...
Sweet.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
Who produces about 1/3 of all pineapples in the world?
Like what country? Or person?
That would just give it away.
Steve.
No. If you go, okay, go country.
Go country?
Steve. Yeah, Steve produces
like,
1/3 of all
who does
pineapples.
It's like, is his name John? Like odds are it's going to be either John or what's the most? I'm going on a sidetrack here. What's the most popular name? Because it's going to be like. If China has the largest population, it'd probably be a Chinese name. Would be the most popular.
Was. I learned this from what's that movie?
I don't know.
Superbad. Isn't it Muhammad? Is the most common name on Earth?
We just got a little bit more edgy on this episode.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was just thought of that where I'm like, if you're gonna guess, like, hey, what's the person responsible for this in the world? It's like Muhammad. Like, why? Like,
how'd you
best
know
odds.
Yeah. Right.
My best odds. I have no idea.
So, if you were to go country. It'd be the USA. Mm. If you were to break it down farther, it's Hawaii.
So that's
1/3 of all pineapples come from Hawaii. Pineapples are not native to Hawaii.
So they just started. Where are they native to?
South America.
Okay, that makes sense. I asked the question, and then when you tell me, I'm like, how many people already knew that?
Yeah, Christopher Columbus says pineapples are native to South America before Christopher Columbus discovered them in 1493.
I mean, it's a pretty nerdy thing, but that is interesting. So Hawaii had pineapples that aren't native, but it's the third. What would you say? The third of the production comes from Hawaii.
33% of all.
Hawaii is not where Spam was created.
Yeah,
but everyone assumes that Spam is Hawaiian.
Hawaii is an interesting place. So I could be wrong in this, but I'm 99% sure I'm right.
Okay.
Coconuts and palm trees are not native to Hawaii. But what do you think of when you go to Hawaii?
Palm trees.
I'm going to plop down on the beach. I'm going to get a coconut.
I mean, I'm not going to get a coconut, but...
With a pineapple wedge and suck out of a straw on the beach. You know?
And a side of Spam.
With a side of Spam, with non-native pigs running everywhere.
What?
So it's a compilation of non-native things. That's why all their birds are going away, but that's besides the point. So
no, yeah,
it's just like a climate that's very accepting of pretty much everything.
Yeah. It's kind of like, hey, can we hang out over here? I'm like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, and it's super fertile because it's a volcano.
Yeah. What's the one food that it's something that they have over there? Is it
Vegemite?
No, it's poi.
I'm not familiar with that.
Poi, it's a taro root vegetable. That's like it's supposed to be like a superfood, I believe, but it's also limited supply because it's so popular, but also only grown there. But that might be completely pulled out of wherever. But the
better get on that, bud.
I mean,
if it makes it past the table, I'm going to drink it on the way home. I'll tell you that.
So the dinner plans will be, hey, I thought to make this because it sounded really good with the sauce we had. Like, oh, we're going to try it? No.
She didn't make it home.
It's gone. Wow.
I'm going to get pulled over like, officer, that's hot sauce, I promise.
But like, you want to like try to get some off the rim with your pinky? Wow. So I'm curious on where you scored this because we're downing this so much. And it's we I think in the future episodes, we have some scheduling planned to include, we've been doing a lot of gourmet sauce, and we want to do some sauces that are a little bit more generic to balance out our scale. Because, like, yeah, we're trying some high score sauces, but we have the whole scale to work with, and we want to get some experience with some, I think, some with, like, some extracts and things like that, which we aren't expecting to be blown away by, but it also helps when we're learning about sauce. This is very much about not just trying great sauce, which this is, but also learning about all the sauces out there, even those novelty ones you get at a gas station on the way to the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So we have some of those in the work that we'll probably record ahead of time, since I'm trying to think of one of the generic ones, like the Dave's, was it the Dave's Gourmet Insanity sauce?
Kick your ass hot sauce.
Yeah.
Like the most common, I bet I would guess that is probably one of the most commonly gifted Christmas stocking stuffers.
Yeah.
Is like you see them in the center aisle all the time of just like here's the combo pack of really fun novelty hot sauce.
Right. And so I'm curious if we were to try some of those, just like where those rank, and just get an understanding of like the full spectrum of everything. So we have those in the works, to try. But yeah, I don't think I want to say Famous Dave's, but that's the barbecue place. But Dave's Gourmet Hot Sauce, I don't think they really care if I reach out and say, hey, we're going to try your sauce. And they're like,
sweet. A lot of people do.
Sweet. There's like 17 people that bought it in the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, right.
So that number's probably low.
Whoop,
Ooh.
Whoop.
Do not waste. He almost
didn't
poured
spill
it.
a drop.
Well, yeah.
There's two little drops on the...
I thought you were going to be so aggressive that you were going to bite through the pearl spoon.
I did that. I was eating lunch the other day and I was rushed and I bit all the plastic tines off my fork. So I've been known to eat the utensils.
So I'm curious what you scored this one.
I did. It's my highest one yet.
I think it's my highest one too.
85.
87.
We're always off by 2.
We're off by 2. So this is, it's the highest one we've scored so far. And it's something where I think we're going to get better with this as we try more sauces, and we're trying ones with very diverse flavor. But like, the flavor on this, and our scale is very much weighted towards flavor. It's not hey, 10 points for taste, 10 points for look. It's like, if you have good flavor in the sauce, you're going to have a high score. You're going to have a recommend to buy. Mm-hmm. This is obviously one that we would both have stocked in our kitchen. Probably not right now because it's almost gone.
Yeah.
But when we get the restock, then we would have this in the kitchen. But yeah,
the sauce makes me feel, even though I know I'm a noob, makes me feel like I know even less than what I thought I didn't know, or even more than what I thought I didn't know.
I gotcha.
Because I don't know how to describe it. It just hits my taste buds differently than most other things I've tried.
It's interesting because I'm drinking for my throat just to keep it kind of lubricated because it dries out with the season right now and whatnot. I'm doing the hot water with lemon and honey, and I think having that with lemon is helping me pinpoint that like lemon flavor in that more.
Yeah.
I'd be curious once I don't need that, when I get bottle number 2 or 3 of this.
Yeah.
What would happen? So it is now the front runner on both of our list. I have talked about, and we talked about this before we started doing it, and we kind of haven't mentioned it since, but getting a website that just has our rankings, not so people know like, oh, this is a good sauce, this is a bad sauce, because good sauce versus bad, it's all subjective. But seeing, hey, what's your favorite sauce? And at the end of the year, we can go, what's your top 5? What's my top 5?
Yeah.
Maybe you look at your top 5 and go, number 8 should be top 5.
Yeah.
And then we fight.
Right.
we fight to the sauce death, which is just, we run out of room. So I would be interested on what some of the best iterations of this on food would be. I go to anything I could put on a grill. I want to have a grilled element that adds another depth of flavor with the char of that.
Yeah.
That's what I think of.
I would like
fish tacos.
I didn't want to say it this way, but I knew what you were thinking.
You love a fish taco on a sauce, and this is hard to ignore. We have tacos upstairs. It's not fish tacos, but we have taco supplies upstairs.
Yeah.
Ready to go.
Shrimp tacos. Like, this would go good with shrimp. Like, I could dip.
Well, pineapple and shrimp
like
is
something crabby, shrimpy, just shellfish. Like, that'd go really good on oysters, actually. The ginger with the lemon.
I'm not familiar with oysters, so that would be
I
one
love raw oysters. I had this discussion last night with my wife and our friends.
Yeah.
And I realized how much I love oysters last night.
It's not that I've tried oysters and go, no, not for me. I've never been in a restaurant setting where I've chosen raw oysters as my option. Mm-hmm. There was one time we were in Alaska where I had family that chose them, and I think I might have tried one of them, but I was 16, 17 in Alaska. I just had a 72-hour marinated caribou steak. I wasn't thinking about the oyster I just had.
Yeah, exactly.
That was
like
the best.
That was
the best
salty, slimy, cold thing.
I'm coming on 20 years now from when I had that, and it's still the only steak that I remember past like a day.
That's got to be good then.
That's like, if you ask me like, what's your second favorite steak? I'm like,
I don't know.
Like one that I buy and grill.
Yeah, the last one I had.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. Highest rated one that we've had.
Yeah.
And
I think that's fair.
It has me excited for the other flavors too. That
I know. I was just eyeing these over here. I don't know. You mentioned you want to throw some of these on wings.
The Taiga style, I want to do a wing episode. We've talked about that. Not do like not a 62 team bracket that would take us like a whole week, but do like get 8 sauces that we think would go good on wings, throw them on some wings, go head to head, and see just like what we think would be the best wing sauce of that group. Not the best wing sauce of all time and all that. Just, here's the ones we're trying. This is the one that I want it to be one that we've tried though, from when we started, 5-6 weeks ago to whenever we do it, which I know National Chicken Wing Day is actually coming up middle to end of the summer.
Uh-oh.
So I am monitoring that. Maybe I can actually do something in theme. We released a month or two after National Hot Sauce Day. We missed that. We always miss the events that actually make sense. So we didn't try Funky Garlic of his on National Garlic Day. So we'll get it figured out.
Yeah. There's always next year, right?
Yeah. Just a couple things about Sam Souse. I keep wanting to do the more grittier voice, but I also know that I will probably cough right into the microphone if I do. But like I said, he does a Spill the Sauce podcast. It's him and Billy are the co-hosts. They're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, most podcast platforms. He is at the local farmers markets coming soon in Minnesota there, near Austin. And he does a Friday coffee talk on Instagram. Usually it's him, Roddy from Faya Co., which is a sauce that we're going to try. But Faya is going to be at the Boston Hot Sauce Fest, so I'm going to try to get the sauce there instead. Because I think I can officially confirm I will be at the Boston Hot Sauce Fest.
And not my wedding.
So here's the thing.
I had to give you a hard time for that.
So here's the thing.
I don't care. I understand.
and that's fine. And I'm fine with it too. But I'm not missing your wedding for the fest. I'm missing your wedding for the travel to the fest,
right.
Which is worse as I'm saying it. So maybe I shouldn't have clarified.
No,
but
you don't have to explain yourself. It was one of those things where it's like, hey, new coworker.
Yes.
I'm not just going to come out of the gates hard and be like, you're all invited to this thing that has been in the works for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, we're decent friends.
According to
you're not doing anything.
According to Lauren from Graham Hot Sauce Company, he posted that we're best friends, which I don't think we've made that decision yet. But apparently, that's how we come off on the podcast. Secretly, we're the MythBusters guys.
Yeah, don't hang out outside of work. No, but it essentially boils down to My wife got me hot sauce for Christmas. You always talked about doing a podcast. I'm like, hey, this hot sauce is really good. I don't see many podcasts out there. What are you doing later?
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was. And you're like, we talk hot sauce. You are definitely more experienced in trying the hotter peppers. I like spicy food, but I wasn't challenging myself as much lately. And this was like a hobby that was constructive. And I stepped one toe into the pool of hot sauce, gourmet, small batch hot sauce. Mm-hmm. And the Loch Ness monster of hot sauce grabbed my leg and pulled me down. Yeah. And I'm just like, it wasn't even flailing. I'm like, cool.
Yeah, I think it was like the first weekend we researched it. You did a lot of it. You did most of it. But I could see it, like, every time I talked to you, you were more engaged. And all of a sudden you're like, we haven't officially done anything yet. But I'm too far into this research to not have anything come out of it.
Oh, yeah. There was Google Drive documents of, here's all the things for us to get a month and a half's worth of work done. And you're like, when did you do this? Be like, oh, last night.
Yeah.
Like, it just started. It is Aquaman coming down to Atlantis for the first time, seeing, oh my God, this is down here. Like, yeah. It was a whole thing. But no, it was funny because you had told me that me and Angela were invited to the wedding. Angela worked. You had asked me at work, where you're like, hey, and you said the date.
It was the most casual wedding invitation.
But it was like, hey, is that date going to work for you? Or is that going to, I forget how you worded it, but you're like, are you going to be able to make it? And in my head, I heard that date and was like, been working on getting the logistics for going to the Hot Sauce Fest. My dad and I are going to fly, and then he's going to be kind of my camera guy if I do any recording, but just so it's like a father-son trip, podcast trip. And so I've been working on that with my dad for a couple of weeks now in discussion. So when you asked me, I was like, oh yeah, we're all good to go. I've got everything figured out logistically. Oh, yeah. Like, we're all set. And you're like, so what do you want to eat? And I was like, what? And you said, no, for dinner. And I was like, oh, I can't make it to the wedding. I'm leaving that night. We're flying out at like 6:30 that night.
Yeah, that's great.
So I was like, I'm so sorry. But I'm like, but I'm doing it for the podcast. So. Right.
Nope, totally get it. I'll think of you.
Yeah. Well, I was like, I appreciate the invite, and I would be there for any other reason other than
hot sauce. He's doing it for you guys.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm doing it for the, I know of 7 family members that listen to it pretty regularly. So I'm doing it for them.
That's great.
And I'm doing it for them. And then the 3 or 4 sauce companies that I know have commented with context of like, oh, they listen to the episodes.
Yeah.
So I'm doing it for like 12 people.
Right.
We'll figure it out from there. I'm excited to see what's out there. And this is a complete sidetrack from what I said to start this whole derailment. Sam does a Friday coffee talk on Instagram with Fireco on Instagram. Oh, yeah. And he does it with, so it's Roddy from Faya. They have guests on periodically. They have been, I don't know if it's a regular thing going forward, but they have Turk from Fat Guy Certified on there. Usually he's helps with like moderating the chat. And then Hot Sauce Guide also is on there. I think most weeks he's been on there, but it's a nice just get your cup of coffee, have a Friday chat. It's ironically right before our work call.
Yeah.
So I have a work call for the podcast where I just am listening to them talk about whatever. And then I do our work call with big bosses and whatnot.
Yeah. I need to join that. Relax me a little bit on Fridays.
It's a fun one. It is. I mean, for me, it's a little different because I'm going in on our Instagram. So it's like, Heat Source Podcast. Yeah. You can be a little more stealth with it where you're like, they don't know that I'm in here.
Yeah.
So, right. But I find it interesting. I found some very interesting things that I think I've messaged you a few times of like, hey, they talked to this person and this was interesting, or they talk about upcoming events. They were talking about the Fiery Food Show when that was coming up. So definitely check out the Friday Coffee Talk. Check out the podcast. It's a really good podcast where they bring on different makers. They brought on Taco Slayers that has now passed 1,000 tacos and keeps going.
So he's not giving up.
No. It's like, why stop now? At this point, I don't know if he can physically not eat a taco in a day. Like he just like falls asleep at like 4:00 in the afternoon and wakes up and there's taco crumbs all over him. He's like, oh, not again. Like, oh God. So yeah, definitely check out those, the Instagram for Sam's House. If you go, and there's all these links will be in the description too, but if you go to his Instagram, he's super engaging. He's been another hot sauce maker that when you reach out to a maker, you don't know if they're going to be proactive in reacting to you saying, hey, we're going to try a sauce and we're this low level podcast or what. and just super welcoming. He gave me a bunch of extra info the last time I reached out, kind of last minute, saying, hey, we're going to try your sauce really soon. And just, I'm excited where if we can figure out the logistics and equipment to bring people on for like interviews, he would be a really good one to bring on. Super engaging and just a really good, every interview I've seen with him has been just really informative. And as a professional cook, talking to him about peppers and the cooking processes and stuff like that would be really interesting.
I feel like he's got some science to hit me with. I'd appreciate that.
Yeah. The science, him, the only other person I would think that you would probably geek out more without knowing a whole lot about the backstory of him is the Chris Cook's Crazy Barbecue guy that does barbecue and hot sauce, which he had a limited edition sauce that just came out I ordered. So I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. But he goes scientific because that's what I think his degree was in, some type of scientific background. So there's some people that when we first started this, I'm like, I don't like interviewing people. I don't know. I don't feel prepared.
Yeah.
But I also wasn't fully in the hot sauce world and knowing as much. Talking with these guys now, it's like, all right, we could have a good conversation. I don't know about interview, like official question, official answer, but like the stuff we talk about, he can also chime in about Michael Bublé and Taylor Swift, I'm sure, whether it be positive or negative.
Taylor, what?
It's like, I don't know who that is. I don't know who he is.
He just gets up and walks away. I got a flight to catch.
It's like, is he the one that was in Twilight? Which, again, another great reference for us. I'm going to have to work on my references a little bit here. But if you stayed around to the end of the episode, I feel like this was a tight...
we were crunched for time today.
Yeah, a tight episode for what we normally do. But I do appreciate anyone that stuck around to the end of the episode. If you did enjoy the episode, make sure to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen. Also, reach out to us on Instagram. We love feedback. We love recommendations, comments. If you think there's something that we would find interesting to learn about or deep dive into, or a sauce maker that we should try. In case anyone's wondering.
I was going to say I've got two things to close out.
Yeah.
I'm going to officially say we killed that bottle.
There's less than an inch on the bottom of the bottle.
It's like a hellfinch.
A hellfinch?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's an L in it. Second thing is, if he put that in a Go-Gurt style tube, I'd probably buy it and eat it.
If I can find a photo of that, that would be a great photo without context. Just Go-Gurt hot sauce.
I would eat it, like without anything on it. It's good. It's fruity.
I'm always surprised when people do the sauces that they drink, where I'm like, man, it's such a hot sauce to just like drink like a big gulp of. That is a drinkable hot sauce. And maybe it's just our tolerances are adjusting or whatever, but it's something where that is a good heat that I could just lap up.
Yep. Just
for a couple special thanks, we've had a few different sauce makers that we've interacted with, ordered some sauce from, that have been really proactive in just, giving us great conversation and feedback on recommendations or whatnot. Mammoth Sauce Co., who sent us the spoons. Thank you again. Galactic Hobo Sauce, who we have one of their sauces. And also Desperately Seeking Hot Sauce, the sauce maker. She's out of Edmonton, Canada. She's sending us some sauce. It's a little bit different, not hot sauce. Ooh. So that's going to be a little bit different.
Can you tell me what kind of sauce?
It's in the barbecue fam.
Okay.
So similar, adjacent.
Yeah. Okay.
And barbecue, I would love any barbecue that brings heat.
All about it.
Some of the criticisms from some people is like barbecue can be too sweet. So how do you counter that? Bring up that heat level. But again, follow us on Instagram, the Heat Source Podcast, for any updates on episodes, any new episodes, if we start doing mini episodes, any memes. Meme Monday has opened up to be all about memes and not episode announcements. And then also feel free again to reach out to us if you have anything else you want us to learn. I did not prepare what our next sauce is, so it's going to be a surprise when I look up what it is. So you'll have to tune into the next episode when we try
cliffhanger
sauce inserted here.
All right. Sounds good.
So yeah, until then, everybody stay safe, have a good week, and we will talk to you again next week.
Thank you.
Sam Sow.